The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Almost certainly one of my most favorite guests of all time is with us today, and we're going to have a really interesting discussion about a bunch of stuff that he's doing, because he doesn't sit around doing nothing. He's always busy doing something. G. Scott Graham is our guest, and he is an author. He is a coach. He is a pilot. I'm a pilot now. That's because you just found that out.
I just found that out. That's right. He's a podcaster. He does a myriad of stuff because, number one, he likes to be busy. Number two, he likes to help people. And so I think it's really cool. So Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. You know, lots of things are going on in the world these days that can make things shaky for people, but I choose not to go down those paths, even though, you know, it's disheartening sometimes. I don't go there. You don't have to go there.
At this point, there's no point in going there because it's just going to bring you down.
Right. And that's true all the time. No matter, there's always going to be something.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Tell us about your drone adventures.
Oh, that's my latest. Look at this. I'm so psyched. Can you see what that says? Look, he put a little red stamp on it that said, do not get rid of this report. Do not destroy this report. This is my exam results. I took my exam today. I was a little disappointed because I got a 90% on the exam. And I talked to folks about this the other day, and they said, well, I said, I want to you have to get 70 to pass. That's 70 to pass. And I said, I'm going to be really upset if I get higher than a 72. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, because you get the license whether you got a 72, a 99, a perfect score. And so if I got a 72, then that means that, you know, I studied the right amount. This means I studied too much. I could have been working on another book. I could have been working on the podcast. I could have been clipping the donkey hooves. I got a lot of things I could be doing rather than getting this 90, which is going to turn out to be, you know, the same as a 72.
Now educate me here, because I know nothing about any tests or any program that you have to follow to be able to fly a drone. What's that all about? I thought you just went to the store and you bought this thing and you learned how to fly it, and then that was that.
Well, that's what I thought too. But, you know, I have my fingers in all kinds of different pots. And one of the things I discovered is that if you if you get a drone and you use it for anything other than recreational use. And then we're not talking about an exchange of money here. We're talking about anything. If you shoot your brother-in-law's wedding as a gift to them, or you do something for your church and you use that drone for anything other than recreational use, you need to be licensed. And if you're not licensed, you can get in trouble. And if you're doing that drone work for anything other than recreational use, you are required to follow the letter of the law around airspace and flight heights and all of these other pieces.
You know, it's interesting because my mother, we recently sold her house, and they had a guy with a drone who took pictures of the outside of the house and was flying around the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. So he must have had to have a license too.
He should have had a license. Lots of people don't. because it still hasn't become this like, hugely there's not a lot of police out there looking to track down the drone users. But as more and more people are out there flying drones, that is you're going to see that more and more. And you can fly the drone anywhere. Like I can fly over my neighbor's property because I was really surprised to find this out. You own your property. You do not own the airspace above your property.
So it doesn't go horizontally to the sky. The property is just what's on the ground.
Just what's on the ground. But the airspace above your property is regulated by the federal government. There's Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class G airspace. And you have to know what airspace you're flying in, as well as, war zones or, military zones where they're practicing, parachutes, gliders, balloons, all these things that you need to know.
Well, and this is a public service announcement, by the way, because I heard this the other day, that there are people actually that will go to where a forest fire is, and they will want to take pictures of the forest fire, but when there's a drone in the air, the folks that are flying the airplanes to put out the fire can't do it.
Right.
So you can get into big trouble if you're taking your drone and they find you, and now they've got they've got all this technology that they can find out where you are, even if you're not with your drone.
Right. As of September 23rd, all drones that are manufactured have to be broadcasting a remote ID that you can pick up on any cell phone. And that remote ID has information about the drone, information about where you're located if you're not flying with the drone, and if you do something wrong, people can figure out who you are and what you're doing.
Right. So you best be careful, because you can get into big trouble. Now, do they also talk about flying your drone outside somebody's bedroom window and that kind of thing?
Yes. No, actually, it was not so focused on any privacy issues. It's focused on the airspace. And the issue with drones is actually, I didn't even think about this, is actually not about taking pictures in somebody's private, boudoir. The issue is something goes wrong with the drone. It falls out of the sky, and by the time it comes down and it hits a small baby that you're carrying in your arms, it's a missile. And so now they're categorizing drones, and you cannot fly over people if you've got a certain type of drone. Only if you're transitioning. And if you do fly over people, you need to get their signed release to fly over them. Not because of privacy, because that drone could seriously injure somebody if it falls out of the sky.
And if it does, and if it really hurts somebody or kills them, you could get charged with manslaughter, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah. So lacerations, you have to have propeller guards. I didn't know this. Now I have propeller guards. I didn't even think about that till I started getting ready for this piece. And that, the bigger drones are rated by force. And there's 11 pounds of kinetic force, 25 pounds of kinetic force. That's a lot of force to get hit with, and higher. And that's not counting how far it falls. So if somebody's like filming at a wedding, all those guests need to sign a release that say, I understand there's a drone and I could get injured and blah, 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 blah.
And I promise not to sue you.
Promise not to sue you.
Which you and I both know that means that doesn't hold the water it's printed on, or whatever it is. Because in this country, you can sue anybody for anything at any time.
Yes. It's a great country. America.
America. I got sued for $50,000 for nothing, and it took 2 years to clean up. And when she presented her case finally in court, and she presented her case, and we stood up and said, will you dismiss this? And they dismissed it with prejudice without us even presenting a case. Mm-hmm. But we could not go back and then go after her for the 2 years that we spent doing this thing.
Right.
So even though she lost, she won.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
is
because
so
the
weird.
pain inflicted on you was great.
Yeah, and I didn't get to charge mileage or time that I had to go spend in court or the time to prepare or any of that stuff. So I think it's wise to get a release anyway. So if you're talking,
So we're talking about the drone piece, and that's we're talking about the legalities of flying the drone, but there's a bigger piece around this, and that is the importance of stretching yourself. So this summer, I think I've mastered the drone. I passed the test. But if I was taking the ukulele test, which is another skill set I've been working on this summer, I would be failing that test. But you see, it's important to have something, anything, doesn't matter what it is, crocheting, archery, doesn't matter. Some place that you're working on and growing forward. And I noticed I didn't say going forward, I said growing forward. That's the key piece, because if you're stretching yourself and challenging yourself, that's going to increase your emotional intelligence. You're going to have more compassion for other people when they're struggling because you're struggling in another area. It's really important to do. Stop watching television.
I was talking to a lady today who is building a business on working with baby boomers who are retiring and that they've got nothing to do. And she stated a statistic that I find hard to believe, that a typical senior who's retired and has got no plan and nothing to do, they spend 48 hours a week watching TV.
Right. Yeah. Not good.
And that's just crazy.
Good.
And
yeah.
And it also, and I think statistically they can now prove that it shortens your lifespan too.
Well, what are you doing while you're watching television? You're sitting around eating ring dings and drinking Coke or Diet Coke or something. Not good.
Yes.
Right. Not good. Yeah. Since I had I done the Tough Mudder the last time I think I did a Tough Mudder, right?
Yes.
And did I do the Presidential Traverse?
Yes.
Okay.
You had just done that, but talk about that because the Tough Mudder, for one, I thought was very interesting because the folks that put that on, according to what you were saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, that they, even though you're racing, you're helping each other. And you're helping each other over the obstacles, and so it becomes a kind of a community event to help people.
It is because the focus is not this competitive piece of somebody succeeding. The focus is there to help somebody else. So when somebody else is struggling, you put a hand out to help them, and you're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And you're trying to keep each other safe too. You don't want to do anything silly, like drown or anything like that. That would be bad. But yeah, because there's a number of water elements that you have to go through. That are certainly challenging. That some have been around forever. Like there's one that's called the Arctic enema. What a name! Who came up? How do they come up with these names? They must go to a bar and with a Bevnap or something. Like, what can we call this? That would really. And so the Arctic enema is this one where you go down this slide into this giant thing of. This year it was green colored goopy water that's filled with ice, and then you have to go underneath this barrier in the ice and up the other side.
That sounds like such a good time.
Yes, we think about, so that's that's a great example. Like, how hard is it to go down a slide? It's easy to go down the slide, right? It's not like you're having to do 4 million push-ups to go down a slide. You get your butt on there and you just slide down, and then how hard it is to like go under and then go underwater for like 2 feet and come up the other side. You hold your breath and there it is. But it's this ice and mental challenge that becomes this breaking point for a lot of folks. I can't do it.
There's green goo that you've got to go into and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's new this year. I haven't seen the color. There was green stuff and red stuff. I mean, they were just putting goop in the water to make it colored.
But you told me that, and I thought it was really interesting that there was one of the contestants was an 80-year-old man, and he had like an entourage around him,
He
making sure
did.
that he made it through.
He did. He was actually there with his family, and they were running. And he asked. He said, could I do this? And they were like, yeah. And there he was with 2 hiking sticks and people around him to help him get through. And I mean, that's in this time where so many people are so divisive towards each other. It is so refreshing to be around other people who are just there to help and support.
It is encouraging, to say the least.
Right. We still can go in that direction when we want to. It's a choice. Just like watching television is a choice instead of crocheting or archery or getting your pilot's license. It's a choice.
Exactly. Now, I wanted to ask you about your pilot's license. Was there a did you have to fly the drone as part of the test?
No, it was all about regulations, weather, airport control, knowing, when you have to get permission to do certain things, how high you can fly the drone. So it's not a skill-based test because different drones have different, so this license allows me to fly a winged aircraft, unmanned aircraft. So any variety of that. And I certainly don't have the skills to fly a winged aircraft. I've only been flying drones with the little 4 propellers on it. So it's really focused on making sure that it's like with driving, the rules of the road, what you do at a stop sign, what it means to pass, what a train thing means and all this other stuff.
I just had a thought, and and I'm just going to say it is that we have to get a license to drive a car. We have to get a license to pass a test to fly a drone. But we can pick up an AR-15, and we don't need nothing.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. No, it's unfortunately true. It's unfortunately true. And you know what? I have to tell you this as a gun owner myself and a person who has taken the NRA, the National Rifle Association offers this incredible gun safety course.
Good.
You learn all these pieces of like what you're supposed to do with a gun and rules like you only load it if you're going to shoot it. You only point it at the thing that you're trying to shoot. You only put your finger on the trigger if you're going to pull it. And then they just drive it in. You would think the NRA would be like, yes, everybody needs to take a gun safety course from the NRA.
Yeah, of course. They can
in order to get a gun, because it is a really good course that they put on, and we would have such a shift if people had to take that NRA safety course in order to buy a gun. That's just my opinion as a person who took the course.
Well, and I didn't know they had such a course because I've never owned a gun, never will own a gun. I don't need to. I'm not out in the woods. I'm in Seattle. We don't have anything that's going to kill you necessarily. I live in an old folks community, so I don't need to half my neighbors I've never even met because they're in front of their TV for 48 hours watching TV.
Yes. And if somebody comes and gets you in the old folks community, the important thing to know is that you do not need to outrun that assailant. You just need to outrun the slowest person in your retirement community. That's the important thing to remember. You'll be set. So don't you be watching TV, Kevin. At least get up there more than the slowest person in your community. So you're not the slowest one.
Yeah,
good. They got Kevin. I don't have to worry about. I'm safe.
Yeah, and I would make somebody a real fine lunch too. But that's a story for another time. But so I'm glad you did that. I'm glad that you are busy doing stuff and with your menagerie that you've got there? And then did you learn to fly your drone in like your backyard, which is kind of huge?
It is. And actually, that's one of the things that I discovered when I was like, you know what, I better learn how to do this after. And it was really, I crashed my drone a couple times and had to get it repaired. But I got the drone because, I have this animal rescue and I want to take pictures of the animals and videos, and people can come camping here and sleep with the animals. And and I mean, you're not sleeping with the animals. Although if you don't zip up your tent, some of the donkeys will try to come in to your tent. But so maybe you're sleeping with the animals. I don't know. But I wanted to take some videos of these pieces so folks could see what it was like. And so I was like, I need to get a drone to be able to do that. And I did, and that's the primary use so far. That and probably some stuff on the fire department.
So how many campsites do you have on your property?
Let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 like remote kind of, I don't know if you call 200 feet remote, but there's it ranges from 200 feet that you'd have to walk up to about 4/10 of a mile to get to some of these campsites. And they all have like tent decks that people can stay at, and those really are in the woods away from the animals, because I have 107 acres here with the rescue. And then there's a group site that people can put like 6 tents up at once. That's right in the center of the action. So the animals are free roaming around there. You got to make sure you put your food away or it's all over the place. And we have one RV site with hookups. And then last year, some volunteers built a greenhouse with scrap windows. And that is rented out as like a glamping. That's turned out to be one of the most popular pieces. I would not stay in a maybe if I was in Seattle like you, I would stay in a greenhouse. But here in Vermont, when it's 90 degrees and, sunny in the summer, that greenhouse is like an oven.
It really would be. So you've got to, and this is in Vermont.
This is in Vermont.
If somebody
Willoughby
wants,
rescue.
if somebody wants to come and stay there and camp with the animals, how do they do that?
So there's a service called Hip Camp. Have you heard of Hip Camp?
I haven't.
Hip Camp is like Airbnb for camping.
Oh, okay.
And so if you're, and this is not just a plug for me, this is really a good plug for Hip Camp, because I have stayed in Hip Camps. I don't know where, maybe it's like a hippie camp. I don't know where they came up with the name, but I've stayed in the hip camps and traveling. And so if you're, there's lots of parks that are built up all over the place that you can't, state parks, campgrounds, they're all filled because everybody has a camper. But hip camp is still a place where you can go and find places that you can camp. And usually they're like 1 or 2 spots, maybe 3 spots on the back of somebody's house. Some places are in the city. You can park and camp in somebody's backyard in the city. It's quite interesting.
That would be interesting. I'll have to look that up. That's called Hip Camp, HIP?
Yes, HIPCAMP.
Oh, very good. I'll have to look at that. Not that I'm going to stay in one, by the way, but by the way, do you have facilities for these people? Bathrooms and stuff?
Yes. There's an outhouse for people to go, and what we tell folks is you can, pee anywhere you want to, and just make sure you pack out your toilet paper. And if you're using toilet paper after you pee, you don't know what that means because you're a guy, but right. Gals, often need to use toilet paper. Although when I was an Outward Bound instructor, I worked with a gal who never used toilet paper, and I was like amazed.
That's a gift, by the way.
That's a gift. That's a gift. She was able to make her initials in the snow.
That's a talented gift.
Leafy. Because I remember, because I was like, look, I can do this. You're out camping with somebody for 21 days straight. They're a staff person, and after you've done that for like 3 months in a row, you're kind of close, with each other. and one of the days we were out winter camping with the group on a 21-day course, and I don't know, we were talking about peeing in the snow, and she's like, I can make my initials in the snow, and I'm like, you can't, right? Because what else are you going to talk about when you're in the middle of the woods in the wintertime? And lo and behold, she was able to. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That's a story that needs to go into a book.
Yes. That'll be one of my other books.
Yeah, the gal that could pee in the snow and make her name. So, yeah. But so you've got 100 acres. But so when do you have time off? Because do you just let that flow, or do you have to clean it? And
I'm busy. I'm busy all the time with lots of things, and so sometimes my life feels like it's plate spinning. So if you think of that metaphor, like if you ever see a plate spinner, they're like going over here, and just as they get like they're fine with maybe 2, then they put in 3, and then they got 5, and then they got 10, and then you see them running over to one side, and then they're running over to the other side, because then the first plate they got starts to get a little wobbly, right? And so that it feels like plate spinning at sometimes, but I'm committed to. Somebody said, why do you do all this? And part of it is that it's energizing for me, because I don't want to be in a retirement home just watching TV. I've got I have a lot of interests, and I'm good at a lot of different things, fortunately or unfortunately, and this rescue was a piece that I started with my spouse, and this is carrying on his vision, and I'm committed to making sure that vision gets carried on, because that's a way to keep him alive.
That's very important.
Yeah,
that's very important. And it's also very important for you to keep his memory alive in everyday life for you too.
Right. And I've grown to really love the animals. They know me. They're very, gregarious. I was in a meeting on Tuesday morning at 7:30 in the morning. I was in a Zoom meeting, and we're in Vermont, so it's rural. So, my front door was open. It's not locked. It's not. That's just the way it is. And so I was on the phone, and the dog started barking, and I'm like, I'm trying to have a Zoom meeting here. And I said, hold on. And I went up, and in the kitchen was one of the pigs that just, Wilbur opened the door with, it was like open this big. He put his snout in there, opened the door. And then one of the chickens was like, where are you going? I'm coming too. And so, but there was a pig and a chicken. I felt like, do you ever see Green Acres?
Yes.
That's what it feels like sometimes. I'm like, get out of here.
So you got pigs, you got chickens, you got donkeys. What else you
got? We have one rescue peacock. We've had more than, but we currently have one. There's 3 pot-bellied pigs. I'm looking for a home for one of them, because I try to keep them in pairs, because the animals, interestingly enough, a lot of times this is going to generate hate mail from folks. That's okay. Send it all to Kevin.
I'm there for you.
A lot of times when people start these like rescues, it's like a really fancy way to say hoarder. And so I am definitely not that way. I don't want a million animals running through here. And so I actively try to rehome animals, but I keep a couple around. So we've got 2 donkeys. I want to keep 2 of the pigs. That's why I'm working to rehome the 3rd. There's 3 alpacas, 2 sheep, and these animals really serve as the camp counselors, for lack of a better word. You may think that sounds really goofy. I hear you, but if you get a donkey that's been abused or locked in and has never really been around other donkeys, that donkey does not know what it means to be a donkey. No. And how to be donkey-ish. And whatever donkeys do, if they pray to the great donkey in the sky and all this other stuff, I don't know but the donkeys know what to do, and the donkeys tell the other donkey, don't do that. Get over here and do it this way. And so they actually help to reorient, work through, I hate to say this, work through trauma that maybe an animal has gotten, it's skittish around, and you can see the change as they're hanging out with the herd. It's like group therapy. And then they're ready to go off to home.
So now, how much does it cost you to feed all these animals, or do they live off the land?
This summer they're living off the land. I'm like, they would rather eat the corn, and I'm like, why is the grass growing up so high? And because they've manipulated me so well this summer that every time I come out, they're like, hey, give us some food. And so I'm like, all right, I'm done giving you guys corn because the grass is getting really high in some parts, and they eat, not all grass is created equal, right? It's just like not all steak is created equal. There's some good parts of the steak, and there's some stat parts that you're like, and so they know this, and they're like eating all the good stuff and not eating the other stuff because they're like, and then they're like, hey, we're starving. Give us some corn, give us some other food. And so I'm trying to get them to go eat this other stuff. In the wintertime, I get this ginormous bale of hay, those giant round bales.
Right.
And that lasts about 5 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, depending on how cold it is. And I go through probably 10 to 11 of those a winter with those guys. And so, yeah, it's expensive. And so, but we're not for profit. And I've got some people that have donated, to help with the money of the food. It doesn't pay for a caretaker. Somebody keeps saying to me, like, you need to hire someone. And I'm like, I'm grateful that I have money for food and for vet bills and for medicine and for, because the alpacas, for example, they're not a domesticated animal. Or I should say they're only recently domesticated. So they've come over, and there's a disease that's carried by deer in the United States, and snails eat the parasite, and then the alpacas eat the parasite. And because the alpacas are only recently domesticated and they're from, South America, they get sick. And so every month in the summertime, some people do it year round, but you don't have to worry about it in the wintertime because it's the winter. In the summer months, they have to get an injection of Ivomec.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Is that expensive?
No, not too expensive. I mean, everybody was taking it for COVID. So, I thought about, opening up a COVID inoculation site at one point when all this nonsense was going on about Ivomec, because I got some huge bottles of Ivomec for the alpacas. The alpacas have not had COVID, probably because of the Ivomec.
Of course. Of that, I'm absolutely sure. But yeah. So that's true. By the way, before we go any further, if you are listening to this podcast now or in the future, because this is going to go up forever, because he is just that kind of a good guest, and we have a lot of fun talking. If you would like to donate to the rescue, you can do that by how?
Google donate Willoughby Rescue Vermont. Google that, and you'll see that we've got a PayPal. We're not for profit, and so you can actually sell stuff on eBay and donate the proceeds to Willoughby Rescue. You just have to type in Willoughby Animal Rescue on eBay and do that. You can buy stuff at Amazon, and Amazon will, hey, you're in Seattle, the home of Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon will donate a very tiny amount. It's like super tiny to the rescue for every $1 you spend. I think it's like for every $10 you spend, they will donate a penny or something like that. It's real. But you know what? A lot of people buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. that will go up really high.
I'll tell you, I have a Amazon procurement center at the bottom of the hill where I live. Mm-hmm. It's like 5 to 8 minutes away. That thing is like 3 football fields long and 2 wide. And I order all my groceries and everything through there. and they have free delivery, and it's always here on time, mostly, and always the ice cream is always still frozen and stuff. So
Wow.
that way I don't have to go to the grocery store with the rest of the riffraff and have to worry about, about wearing my mask and all that other stuff. So
Right.
I'm
We don't have that yet here in Vermont.
what,
But
masks or riffraff?
no, we have riffraff. We do have riffraff, but we don't have Amazon delivery here. So
Oh, well, it's coming. Trust me. It will be coming. I wanted to ask you too, since I live in Seattle and we've got all kinds of homeless people here. Do you ever get invaded with homeless people that kind of homestead on your property?
I've had a couple, I've looked for some homesteaders actually trying to develop the property, and it's actually turned out to be a very disappointing process, because what I've said to folks was, you want a homestead, I've got 107 acres. This is the problem with homesteading, is that somebody has the heart to do that, but they don't know if this is really the path for them. Right? It's like someone says, my parents say I should be a dentist. And then, they go to dental school and they're in there for 2 years and they pass out when they're doing dental work. They're like, God, I wish I had known that. Right? It's the same thing with homesteading. But for most folks, it's really difficult to really just try it out. You have to have a chunk of money to buy a chunk of land, and then you're in. And then if it doesn't work out, you're stuck with the land. What do you do? Is it, how does that go? So I thought, you know what, this is the opportunity. I will, let somebody come here for 4 years rent free. That's it. You can come here for 4 years rent free. I'm not making any obligation after that 4 years. If you come here for 3 months and you're like, I can't stand it, and you're gone, no hard feelings. After 4 years, maybe I'll bring somebody else to try it out for, rent free for a period of time. Take what you have that's not screwed down. You can take it with you. If you dug a well, you can't take that with you. That's got to stay there. But that's your opportunity. And I put that out there, and I've had people that were like, well, why don't you just give me the land forever for free? I'm like, really? Really? I had somebody that said, why would I came up with a whole little math equation. They says, why would I stop living in my apartment and come live out there for 4 years if I'm not going to be able to live out there for the rest of my life? And I said, well, let's just think about this. You're paying $1,000 a month for your apartment, hypothetically speaking. That's $12,000 a year, right? So that is $48,000 over 4 years. If you spent $10,000 building stuff that you said, okay, I'm not even going to take it with you, it's just keep it all, you're walking away with $38,000 and 4 years experience in your property that you can then say, I'm going to go do this, or I'm not going to do this. I'm going to take that $38,000 and I'm going to buy a house in suburbia because this isn't the life for me. I don't know. It seems like good math to me. I wish someone had done that for me when I was younger, but I can't find any takers.
Isn't that interesting? That's because there's a segment of the population that would like to be off the grid, as they say.
Yeah.
And because they either don't like people well enough, or they just want to be in the woods. And it seems to me that they could take an acre or two and
absolutely figure it out.
Yeah, and then I wanted to ask you too. You have this great big group in the middle where you can have a group of folks come and stay.
Yep.
Are you able to sleep at night, or are they loud and obnoxious?
Nope. People are usually really respectful and quiet. And if they're not, I go out and say, knock it off. So, because the animals need to sleep, right? So people are aware of that. So when people come, I make sure that people know that, and most people that are coming here out in the boonies aren't coming here to party or carry on and do whatever. You see that in like regular campgrounds, right? Like camping in regular campgrounds has become kind of riffraffy, right? Neon lights, neon sparkling, and just like goes on and on. People have their like connecting devices that connect to satellites and stereos, and it's just like a big party. But someone comes here, especially if they choose to go for one of the more remote hikes in the woods, people are hoping to try to get away.
I never
Right.
understood why somebody would spend $150,000 on a motorhome and drive it down the road and take it to a campground and then stick up your satellite TV so that you can watch TV. It's like you're just at home. You just spend 2 hours or 8 hours to get there. I've never understood that. If you're going to go camping, go camping. Go into the woods. Go do some stuff.
You know what it is? It's the piece we talked about on another podcast. Hey, Ken just said hello, Scott. Someone just popped in. Hi, Ken. And it's the same thing that I talked about in the other podcast, where people are kind of grasping for things or trying to hold on to things. And there's this kind of lack of acceptance of here's where I'm at. So they get the small pop-up camper, and then they're like, oh, I should get the bigger pop-up camper. And then it moves to this. And then they're like, it's just, you know what? A 55-inch screen is great. And you buy that 55-inch screen, and then you're like, oh, I really need a 65-inch screen.
Yes, indeed.
And on it, and that is what we're sold from when we're young. We talked about that in the last podcast, right? There was a time in America where everybody dressed brown and gray. And that was not a piece. Everybody dressed brown and gray. That was, and there was this piece of psychology where one of the Sigmund Freud's cousins or brothers, I'm doing it really poorly, came in and was like, you know what? We need to focus on people's individuality. And they started pushing this piece of like, dress to express yourself. You think about it, how many shoes do you need? Really? Maybe 3, right? Not one for every color of the rainbow for everything that you're wearing.
You are speaking to the choir, sir, because I've got 2 pairs of shoes and I haven't worn one in 3 months. So I have one, and I bought a new pair of shoes. My sister was yelling at me because I bought a new pair of shoes. She said, it's about damn time, and it's still in the box in the closet, and I haven't even put them on yet. So, because I haven't worn out the other ones yet. You can only wear one pair at a time.
Right. I've been wearing Crocs all summer long, and I've got 2 pairs, and it's one of the pairs is my backup pair for when this other one goes that I can put it on, but I haven't put it on yet. So look at that. Ken Williams is in the chat. Hi, Ken. Do you have a question, Ken? Or are you just listening in? I was just checking to see if there was a.
Oh, come on, Ken, ask a question.
He's like thinking, how are things in Texas, Ken? Ken, I know, is a friend of mine. We went to college together, Ken
you
and
still
I.
know somebody that you went to college with?
Yeah, and actually,
That's
do I have
cool.
a picture here? I'm going to show you guys so that you can see this. I might not have the picture here. This is in this book, Androphile Pride. And see, I'm going to out Ken if I can find this thing here. Because when I wrote this book, I was like, oh, I'm being so critical of the gay community. Oh, look at this. And I was like, I have to prove to people that I'm not just this like crazy person. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, look at that. That person in this, see this person right here? That is me. Whoops. Which way? I can't see it on the camera. That's me. I'm this first person here. And the person in the middle is Ken. And the person at the far other side with the beard is Barry. So that's how long we knew. We were at the Florida State Fair in, geez Louise, 1982, 83. It was crazy. I mean, people were catcalling. I mean, they were really obnoxious, but that's why we're all in ties, because we wanted to be like very professional. Here we are. This is the image we wanted to kind of present.
We've been in COVID so long that the gentleman with the beard, I said, why is he wearing a mask?
Yeah. Are people still in Seattle wearing masks?
I am, because there are actually fewer and fewer and fewer of them.
That is really fun. It's happening here in Vermont too, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it, because it's, it is still out there. And I just am, and I said to someone the other day, I said, I was on another podcast, and I said, I choose to not get COVID. And someone took offense and was like, well, I didn't choose to get COVID. I'm like, yes, you did. If you're not wearing a mask, if you're going to a party, hanging out with people who are, coughing and wheezing, you're making a choice. And that's a choice to get COVID. It's like, there's no difference between that. And if I have another friend that I went to college with, his partner got a lung replacement.
Oh no.
I'm like, talk about tough things.
That's a surgery.
His partner cannot get a cold, for Christ's sake, let alone COVID. I mean, there's no way they're going to get COVID. No way on this planet. They're masked up. They're so diligent, right? It's like it's the same thing that happens to a parent has a kid who has a peanut allergy. Those parents with those kids that have a peanut allergy are like, right? I mean, they're like, what's in that? What's in that salad, right?
Yeah.
What's in that soda? They're reading the labels. They're doing this because they know if that kid gets a peanut, that kid is going to have a reaction. It's not just going to be a little reaction. They're going to have trouble breathing. So they even have an EpiPen.
Yes.
That they carry with them, that they paid $7 million for, because that's how much the company who manufactures them wants to make. But they have that EpiPen for that kid just in case, right? If you can be that focused around a peanut, you can be this diligent around. You're just sloppy if you get COVID. Sorry, well, I hope it's not offending people. But right, Kevin, if it is.
No, absolutely. Well, have you ever been on an airplane and the stewardess will come on and say, today, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to serve peanuts because there is somebody that's allergic to peanuts on the plane.
Right.
And so they won't serve anybody a peanut.
Right.
So which, yeah. But when you're talking about a life and you're talking about something that's that way, I mean, I'm 64, about to be 65. And I'm not always in the best health. You must be, because of course you did the Tough Mudder and all that kind of good stuff. But I don't want to get that. I don't want to get COVID. I'm going to do everything in my power to not get that. And I had to laugh because my consultant just graduated from business school. And so they had a graduating ceremony, right? And they had all these people, and they were in, the itty bitty seats that they give you for when they're packing, like for banquets and stuff, and they're packing people together. Mm-hmm. They were zip tied together next to each other, and then all these people were shoulder to shoulder, and nobody was wearing a mask. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it's risky. It is so risky, right? And especially when it's so easy. It's so easy because, all you have to do is prevent that transmission by, you don't even have to get vaccinated. I don't care whether you believe it or not, just put on a mask. That's what's going to prevent it. That's the vaccine might not make it as bad or might help, but it's not going to make you immune. You got to wear a mask. You got to wear a mask. Just like if you don't want to get HIV, wear a condom. You don't want to get, syphilis, wear a condom. It's very simple, straightforward.
It really is, and you can take care of yourself. And it would be better if we all took care of ourselves rather than risking it and ending up, because every person that ended up in a hospital ended up in a ventilator, and most of them died. Said to themselves at one point, "How fucking stupid am I?"
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think it's really important that people that we take care of ourselves, and because nobody else is going to, at the end of the day, nobody else is going to do it for us.
So. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to go away this weekend camping, and it's at a gay campground in Vermont, and they're having an event this weekend. It's some sort of it's like a toga party and something else. Yeah. So it's an event. So just picture toga party, Animal House, right? That type of, and I'm like, I can't go. I can't go because I I can't. I called them up. I said, I'm really sorry, I can't go because I'm just too freaked out that people are going to come from all over the place to come to this, not just to go camping, but because it's like this toga party or whatever that they're putting on. That I don't want to get monkeypox. I don't want to get exposed until at least I get a vaccine, right? Which I don't know. We'll get for Easter next year. The way they're dragging their feet.
Yeah, and now that's is a growing thing now. That's kind of going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, it's my day to call all the people that need to get called, and so every Friday I call the Department of Health, and I'm like, hey, is it COVID? I mean, do you have the monkeypox vaccine yet? I mean, they're going to figure out now that it's me if they see this podcast. But every Friday I'm like, what's going on? How come it's not here yet?
And I hear that is a particularly nasty thing with welts and all sorts of
yeah. Yes, and you can spread that. You can spread it when you don't know you have it. That's really nice, right? You can spread it when you don't know you have it.
Surprise!
And it can get spread by touching. So, and it can get spread to animals. And it can get spread through linens. So if somebody has monkeypox and sleeps in your bed and they've got some sores and they're contagious, and then they get out and go home, and then you get in your bed and get it, you can get monkeypox. Really?
This is from the CDC. You not want to be around any human being ever again.
Come to Vermont. Yeah, so as I was thinking about it, I'm like, I can't go because I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to be paranoid. I'm going to be like avoiding folks, and people are going to think like I have mental health issues because they'll be like, stay away.
Well, you're not going to have a good time
no.
I don't know if we are ever really going to get over this in any of this stuff, because it seems like it's coming one after the other.
It does feel that way. It does feel that way. It's hard. It's hard to figure out exactly how much is being hyped up by the media and how much is really accurate, right? It would be nice if they weren't using such flowery adjectives and adverbs in all the headlines that are, that come out, and it was, just said this thing happened, but there always has to be a little bit of a oomph to it, and that really gets people wrapped up with, that it's this grasping thing that we talked about at the last podcast, grasping or pushing away, right? I don't want to get it. Creates fear and anxiety, or it creates attachment, and those are the things that ultimately make us really unhappy.
Well, and that's they go for the clicks, they go for the sensational titles, so that people will read it and pick up the newspaper and all of that. So it's not even about the content as much anymore. It's about how you can sell the article with the title.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it doesn't matter if you read the entire article. If they want you to just click on it, and once you click on it, then you're good.
It's the same mentality of these sites that say things. This is exactly what it is. You viewers probably see this and know this. They show a picture of somebody that you saw on television like 20 years ago, and it's like, you should see this person today. And then you go, and it's one site with one picture, and then to see the next one, you have to click and wait for the next page to load and read that. And there's all these advertisements, and if you click on, and there's like 16 different next buttons. Right? And if you click on the wrong next button, suddenly you're seeing an ad to buy a car instead of thing, because it's just they're there to
And what's really irritating is that button keeps moving, because you go to click on it and it drops down and another button takes its place, and then you end up someplace you don't want to be.
Yes. Yeah.
It drives you crazy. And I had one just the other day, because they were talking about movie scenes that never were meant to be in the movie that were in the movie, and they showed the Shawshank Redemption, and which is a movie I really liked, and I wanted to find out what was not supposed to be in there that was in there. they never showed it. It was a lost trailer and they showed a bunch of other stuff, but they never showed that. And
Right. So when that happens, here's your tip. When next time you see that happen, when they're like, Shawshank Redemption, see the stars today, right? Or Shawshank Redemption airs in the movie you missed. Don't click on that.
No.
Go up to Google and type in Shawshank Redemption's airs in the movie I missed. Go. And that bypasses all of that bullshit that you have to surf through to get that.
It really is something. It really is amazing, and it's awesome. So we wasted our whole. No, we have not wasted our time. We've had a very
time. What time is it? Oh wow, is Kent still here? No, I don't even know. He just said hello, Scott.
We've got a couple people listening still, but it's awesome having. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the books. Can I bother you to come back again?
I would love to come back again. We can talk about motivational interviewing. We can talk about counseling. We can talk about, setting goals. We can talk about the bucket list. I'm almost done with my next book. We can talk about that book when I come back. So that's.
When do you have time to write when you're busy with the 106 acres and learning how to fly? And
it's hard. I'm plate spinning.
Yes, you are. But you're going to stay young for a very long time.
I hope so.
Yes, indeed. So everything on the way out. I'll tell you what. I do this all the time, and I want to do it again with you. I'm going to step aside, and you tell our audience anything that you'd like, anything that's on your mind, anything at all, anything that you'd like them to know now or in the future.
I would say the biggest thing for you to make sure that you know is that fear is not your friend, and at the same time, hope is not your friend, because both of those things are pulling you in directions you don't want to go. Really, acceptance is your friend, and generate more of that in your life. Work to have more acceptance. There we go.
I think that's pretty awesome. Then next time, I've got something that I want to share next time as well.
Oh.
It's a little thing that I'm calling authentic grit, and you, my friend, have it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna write down. We can talk about that.
Absolutely, because authentic grit is somebody that is living their lives to the fullest and taking every day and doing the best you can with it and becoming an excellent person at just who you are.
Oh, you got to come on my podcast and talk about that. And you can say this, I called Following Your True Azimuth authentic grit. And this is my example of authentic grit. You'd be perfect.
I would love to. You pick it and I'll be there.
All right. Excellent, my friend.
We've been talking with Scott.
Scott Fitzgerald.
with G. Scott Graham, and go to gscottgraham.com, and he's got 16 books. He's doing this podcast. He's doing a ton of stuff. He's a life coach. Give him money so that he can feed the animals and be very. It's just amazing to me, everything that you got going. It's just you are my hero.
Thank you. I feel like see, that's not good. That's not good, because really that's just giving me something to grasp onto. So be careful. We can talk about that. Losing my equanimity.
I don't even know what that means. So we'll talk about that next time, and you can educate.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much. I could talk for another hour, but I know you've got another plate that's about ready to stop spinning, and you got to go.
I got to get that plate.
Go get another. So again, G. Scott Graham. Go to gscottgraham.com and find out all about him. He's worth every moment that you're going to do it. If you'll hang right there, I will be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because